everybody, thanks for coming to watch the show. So today I want to talk to you about Cyberpunk 2077. Just like everybody else on the internet right now, this is obviously like the biggest gaming story right now, as it has been for pretty much the last year or so, at least that I've been following. Pretty much ever since the E3 showcase where Keanu came out and he did his big, demonstration.
You're breathtaking!
I've kind of been following this on and off, and I've really picked up my anticipation for it in the last like 6 months or so. I started watching a lot of videos about it and listening to podcasts, people talking about it, and just kind of describing what the game was going to be. And it finally came out a few days ago. I've been playing it quite a bit. I have it on PS4. I'm playing it on my 7-year-old base model. And I'm sure you've heard a lot about the way that it's playing on those consoles, the performance, the issues that are going on with that. I do have a few complaints and issues, but the main focus of this video is actually just some kind of positive things about the game, because I think underneath all of the kind of like the overhype nature of this game and the various issues that it has, I think there's a really good game in there, and I just want to highlight some of that because there's a lot of negativity about it. So as of right now, December 14th, when I'm making this video, the patch 1.04 just released, I think yesterday, maybe the day before, and I've been playing it since release, and I played it before that patch, and it seems like it has improved a lot since the 1.04 patch came out. And CDPR actually released like an apology letter on Twitter earlier today, and they said, they were sorry for the way that they portrayed the game, and they didn't give like the last gen console. I still can't believe that PS4 is last gen, but they said that they were sorry for the way that the game is performing on that and for not being more upfront, which, yeah, they really should have been a little bit more honest about that. I still probably would have bought the game just because the type of issues that this game is having don't generally bother me that much, but we'll get to that in a second. Mainly, I just wanted to highlight that they did issue this apology and also plans for updates in the future, so they're not just going to leave the game in the state that it is now. So that's good to know. I mean, I didn't think that they were going to, but it's nice to kind of have like a timeline. They said there's going to be another update in about a week, and then we should expect one in January and also February. So that's good to kind of have those in mind as well. But as for the way the game is running like right now, I think it's doing pretty well. Like, it's obviously still got some pretty big issues, but I'm about 20 hours in, and I've since they released the latest patch, I've had one crash and a lot less just like bugs and glitches. I still see them occasionally, but not nearly the way that I did before. I think the biggest issue right now is mostly just texture pop-in and kind of just kind of the janky nature of the AI. Anytime you're talking to people in a quest, in my experience, that's been fine. I've never had really any issues with that even before this latest patch. But the biggest thing I'm seeing right now is just like the pedestrians you see on the street and the cars that, or lack thereof, when you're driving around. Sometimes they can just be a little bit dumb and not very responsive in the way that I was hoping. But I think it's only going to go up from here, and as of right now, I think if you bought the game on PS4 and played it on the base model, you would still have a good time, because I am. But like I said earlier, the type of issues that this game is having right now don't really bother me as much. It's really just when I'm having issues that prevent me from progressing in the game. As far as like graphics and textures and that sort of thing, if I was a real stickler for like frames per second and all that, I would invest more into PC gaming, but I just kind of like the convenience of console gaming, so I'm more sticking with that for now. Right now, I think if you play on PS4, you can have a good time. I don't think that it's completely broken to the point where you just can't even play the game. So now that we've gotten all that technical stuff kind of out of the way, I just want to highlight a few things that I'm really enjoying about the game. And the first thing that I want to just say is that the story itself and the side quests I've found really enjoyable. I think the story is very engaging, and I think it's as good or better at times than some of the stories that were told in The Witcher 3, which I'm sure a lot of you are fans of that game if you're playing Cyberpunk or interested in it. And I think that Cyberpunk's world is a lot more interesting just to me. It's a cool setting. I think the futuristic nature of it and kind of like the post-apocalyptic setting and all that is pretty cool. And the story, I'm really drawn into it, which for me doesn't really happen that often. The last game that I was actually really excited to play was Red Dead Redemption 2, and that was like 2 years ago at this point. I mean, there's been games that I've gotten excited for, but not to the degree that I was for that game. And Cyberpunk is really drawing me in the way that Red Dead did, and I'm really enjoying the story. I think what really makes this game engaging as far as the story goes is just the characters. They're very well written, and they feel like real people. Like when you go and you talk to these people, if it's a main quest or a side quest, it really feels like they put a lot of time into the dialogue and the animations. Like most of the time when you're playing an RPG, specifically like Fallout or Skyrim or even The Witcher to an extent, it felt like most of the NPCs that you talked to had like maybe 6 animations, and they would be like really mad or really happy, or they would say like no or yes, and that was pretty much all you would see when you were talking to them. But in Cyberpunk, it feels like each interaction that you have with a character, most of the time, it feels like the developers actually like animated those encounters, like each one, because they react dynamically, or not dynamically, they react in a natural way that you would think that they would, and their facial animation is really good. It captures the way that the characters are feeling, and I feel like it's just kind of the next step that I was hoping to see in an RPG like this. I've seen a lot of people talking about Keanu Reeves in this game. I mean, he was a huge part of like the marketing department, and I think that he's one of the best characters in the game. I'm not really going to say what he is exactly in the game, but I will say that he does play a big part in it, and he's with you for a big chunk of the game. And I think that he's really cool. I mean, if you don't like Keanu Reeves, you're not going to like him in this game because, I love Keanu Reeves, but he doesn't really have much range as an actor.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
He's pretty much the same guy in every movie that I've seen him in. So if you don't like him, this game's not gonna change your mind. But I think he's really fun. He's got like the attitude and kind of the slang and everything that you would expect in a world like this, and he just seems like a really cool guy, I guess, in this game. So I really like having him around, and he's definitely a highlight for me in this game. Another thing that I'm really enjoying is just the world itself. I mean, it is a little bit janky right now, as I was saying. When you're driving around, it's sometimes the buildings or the pedestrians and cars will just kind of pop in, and that takes you out a little bit. But even so, I have still been really enjoying the setting, and I feel like the city is really cool and it's designed really well. And it feels a lot like Blade Runner. If you've ever seen those movies, it's very similar to that in the aesthetics, and I feel like it's a really cool world that would be really neat to explore. Although one downside to it is that there is a big map for you to explore, but there's really not a whole lot for you to do. So it's really pretty to look at, but once you start kind of digging deeper and exploring the city, there's really not a whole lot of like activities to do outside of like some there's random crimes that you can break up, or there'll be police fighting some criminals, and you can intervene with the police and fight off the criminals, and you'll get some money. But outside of those two things, I've not seen anything in like my 20 hours of gameplay other than like the quests and then those optional little like criminal encounters. So that kind of sucks. I was hoping for some like side activities, but there's really not that much. There are things for you to do in the city. I mean, just from what I've seen so far, there is like a fighting tournament, like a hand-to-hand tournament that you can get involved in, and there's also street races you can do, and shooting competitions as well. So I mean, there's things to do, but I guess I was hoping for like kind of like you would play GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption, and you would see like a saloon, and you could go in and order a drink, and you could play darts or play pool or just that sort of thing. Kind of just ways to immerse yourself in the world and make it feel like you were actually living in it, which, I mean, to an extent you can do that in this game, but not in the way that I was hoping. So since I'm kind of naturally headed that way in this video anyway, I am going to say a few of the things that I don't like about this game. And, I just mentioned that the world doesn't have a whole lot for you to do, which, I think they can eventually patch these sort of things in, and I think that they will. But for me, I would really love like some fun activities for you to be able to do, whether that just be like some card games, or maybe a few more types of like crimes to break up, or just like even if you could play like basketball or something like that. Just fun little things you can do passively in the world where it's not like a quest that you go on or something. Another thing that I'm not really crazy about in this game, which I could tell from the gameplay videos that I watched and the trailers and stuff that I wasn't going to be crazy about, is the driving. The driving, I would compare it to probably like Watch Dogs 1, if you ever played that. It was very like floaty and not very responsive. And I think that, that's probably the way it's going to stay. I like it more than Watch Dogs. It's like maybe a couple steps up from that, from Watch Dogs 1, but it's still not that great, which is a shame because the vehicles are really cool in this game, especially if you go in first-person mode, which is almost impossible to drive in without wrecking into everything. But if you go into first-person mode, all the interiors in the vehicles are really well designed, and they're really cool. It's almost like the cars are like a mix of like 80s like real life cars, and then futuristic kind of like fused in with that. So I guess maybe that's like the cyberpunk aesthetic overall, but I still really love the way the vehicles look, but it's a shame that the driving's not that great. On the other hand, the combat is something that actually surprised me quite a bit, because just based on like some gameplay videos I'd seen and from like a couple of reviews, I'd heard people talk about the combat not being very strong, but I think it's really good. I've only gotten to do just kind of the basic stuff, like some guns and blades and a couple of like blunt weapons, but it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I mean, it's not like Call of Duty level of like snappy responsive shooting, but I think there's still a lot of fun to be had here. And I haven't even gotten any of like the really cool upgrades, like the mantis blades that come out of your arms and that sort of thing. So I think there's definitely a lot more fun to be had with the combat. So the last thing that I wanted to mention as something that I'm not super crazy about for this game is the fact that there's really not much choice to play the way that I want to. It's the way that I thought the game was going to be set up was more that you could kind of create your own character and your own story, which I knew there was going to be like a main story that you had to follow, but I thought it was going to be a little bit more like free as far as like the type of character that I was going to build. But this is very similar to the way that The Witcher is set up, in that you have choices you can make, but no matter what you do, you're still Geralt.
Name's Geralt. No crest, no motto, no plumed helmet even. I'm a Witcher.
In The Witcher, you're not going to be able to do things that Geralt wouldn't do, or say things that he wouldn't say. At his core, Geralt is a pretty like neutral or neutral good, I would say. And it's very similar in Cyberpunk. You are V. You're not going to be able to like really do anything that character wouldn't do. And it seems like he's at his core a pretty good guy so far. I mean, I've not had a chance to do anything really evil, so that's kind of a shame. I always like to play around with being a little bit of a jerk when I'm in an RPG like this. So I mean, I'm not saying that there's not choices that you can make that will affect the story, but you really don't have a whole lot of liberty to play as like your character. You are going to be V no matter what choices you make. So that's pretty much all I wanted to highlight in this video, just a few things that I'm enjoying, as well as some criticisms, but I don't think that this game is like as bad as it's being made out to be in the media. I think a lot of times the internet likes to kind of jump on a controversy like this and just kind of pile on and make it out to be like the worst thing you've ever heard of. in human history. And I do have a high tolerance for this sort of thing. Bugs and glitches don't like make me want to like throw my controller across the room and just take my game back that second. So I mean, I'm a little bit more forgiving than most people, I think. But if you're in that area at all, I think that you can still have a lot of fun with this game, and I definitely am, and I'm looking forward to playing more. So if you feel brave, I guess give it a try. But another thing I want to say is that I have high hopes for where this game is going to go. If you look at like No Man's Sky or Battlefront 2, both of those games were completely steeped in controversy when they first came out, and you look at them 2-4 years later, for No Man's Sky's case, and they're completely different games, and they're delivering more than was even promised at release. So I do think that, with updates and patches and everything, this game can really achieve more and be what people were hoping that it was going to be. And for me, I feel like that's great because it's only going to get better. And for somebody that just thinks it's terrible right now, then hopefully those patches will make it into the game that they wanted it to be in the first place. I know that like CDPR saying that they're gonna fix the game doesn't like excuse the way that it was, the state that it was released in. But I've seen people like on Twitter. I saw like one of the lead developers on the game. Actually, he said that he was leaving Twitter for a while because he was getting like death threats and that sort of thing. And that's just way out of line. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a game, and there's no reason to get like that upset about it. Just go get your money back. That's an option if you're that upset about it. But I don't think that this developer just doesn't care about their product. This has been a bad year for everybody, and I think that that has to be taken into account. Whether it was working from home that influenced the way this game came out. They weren't able to collaborate in the same way that an in-person team would, or just the crunch that they were under that didn't yield good results for anybody, it seems like. But I don't think that this developer doesn't care, because I just want to show you this real quick. Like, if you get this game, I mean, you can see it's like this nice slip cover here, and you get like a lore book with it, and you get a game map, and then you get these you get like 3 pretty nice like postcards for this game. And I mean, yeah, it doesn't, this doesn't mean you can sell a broken product and it's okay, but this sort of thing tells me that they care about the consumer. And it doesn't mean that they get a free pass when this sort of thing comes about. But 99% of other developers aren't going to give you anything. They're just going to give you the box and like some warning labels on the inside. So it's nice to see a developer in this day and age kind of going out of their way to give you some physical items that are kind of cool and extra. So that in itself tells me that they do care about this product and the consumer to an extent. Maybe I'm just being blinded by my fanboyism, but I'm really not that big of a fan of this developer, like religiously or anything. I'm not trying to excuse it in any way, but I just wanted to mention that. But that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys watching this video. Follow me on here, obviously. Subscribe if you like this video. I'll put more up like this. And also follow me over on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I don't really get on Twitch that much anymore. It's hard to carve out the time, but I do get on there occasionally, and I may even try and stream some Cyberpunk for you guys if you'd be interested in seeing what a lowly PS4 looks like playing this game. So check me out over there and those other sites, and I really appreciate you watching this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on the game down in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.